I know from speaking with, so we did 2 years ago, I believe. Now at this point, we gave away $1 million in agency training, right? And we implemented the EFT agency program. And so I think we gave it away to, I think, 22 or 25 different law enforcement agencies. Anyways, I say all that to say there was like an application process. We probably had 400 agencies apply, right? And they had to go through different tiers, just to kind of filter out if they really wanted to do it. One of the requirements was we had to have a video from someone who is a lieutenant or higher in their command staff to see if they were actually bought in. And we got some really good videos. Actually, we got some ones that are like professionally edited, like from their media team. But there were some, like, I had a conversation with the chief out of Connecticut. I'll never forget, because it just stays in my head. It resonates in my head. It just goes to show you, and it pissed me off. Like, luckily for me, I wasn't employed by anybody but myself, so I could just shoot from the hip. And um, he called me and said, I was like, hey, sir, you guys have qualified for to get the program for a year. There's no strings attached. Literally, at the end of a year, you guys can keep going with it, or you can just stop, right? And he goes, yeah, we're having some issues with the city council approving. I said, well, it's free. Like, there's no strings attached. And he goes, well, it's just not a priority right now. And I paused for a second and I said, so wait, you're telling me your officer's health and wellness is not a priority right now? Just being
It
clear,
never
because
is.
and he goes, if I remember correctly, he's like, no, it is, but just right now we have to do other things first. And I was just like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. Like, you literally are about, like, you're the problem. Like, you are exactly the problem there. Like, you are not caring about the boots on the ground. You're not caring about the dudes that are out there pushing calls. You forgot what that was like, even if maybe he never even did that. Maybe he just sat in a parking lot the entire time. But like, he's the guy that's the problem. Like, but now there are chiefs out there that'll go out there, they'll train jujitsu, and they're fucking getting after it, and they're changing standard in policing. And those are the guys that we're seeing, like, especially over at the EFC side, and Matt can attest to that. Like, a lot of these guys that are coming to these classes, many of them are supervisors. Some of them have rank. We've had chiefs attend, we've had sheriffs attend, and they are all about that life, the fitness, the nutrition, the jujitsu, the training, the accountability. And, but I will say this, it is slowly changing. But again, just like everything else, the government works slow. But that was my one story that I will never forget. And I was just like, this is why we do what we do. Is that exact reason right there?
Yeah. Well, that dude, that guy that you talked to, right? The guy that's in the position that is ensuring that there's no specific standards or even assistance for any of his officers that are in his department, right? Even though we're basically like handing it to him on a silver platter, like, please, like, we're making this the lowest barrier of entry possible, and he's still like, this is not a priority. The thing is, it's not a priority until it has to be, right? Because that dude is thinking only in a reactive mindset. Like, there's no ability for him to be proactive, which is insane. But the thing is, like, you don't need to wait for something bad to happen. You don't need to wait for a disaster to show up at your doorstep before you have to make the change. When we know it's so much better to be proactive with that. Like,
Well,
before you encounter some crazy situation with your department where you're on the front page of every newspaper and coming up on police posts, like, you could take a couple steps now in preventative measures to work against that.
ironically, that still even is not enough, right? Because like we see failures, especially in my department, where I mean, we've had plenty of failures because of a lack of training, both physically and combatively. And that still doesn't drive change, whether that be out of ignorance, right? Like a lack of understanding and knowledge of like a lot of times it's just a lack of understanding. Like the people in positions of power, the leadership, they don't value it because they don't understand what it actually means to be well trained. It's being untrained is so normalized and so it's just accepted, right? Like fucking up, not being able to chase after criminals and correctly handle physical altercations with ideal outcomes is just an accepted thing in law enforcement now and many agencies because of the lack of awareness of leadership.
Just because it didn't happen to them or they didn't experience it is means that it will never happen, right? And two, if you look at some of the admin, again, this isn't all, this is just some, is that they quickly lose touch of what the job really is, or how it's currently evolving. Matt is totally correct. And it's wild to me that you'll see incidents like this and you'll like life or death situations by seconds or just luck. And the fact that they can look at that and go, nah, we don't need to do anything about it. It's just baffling to me. It's just like when I was in my situation where I had a guy just pull away from a child support warrant, I literally just was like, I could have been really hurt and or killed if this guy really wanted to fight me because the environment that I was in, the skill set that I have, I just didn't have it. And the fact that I was basically lucky and was able to talk to him. And I mean, I have very good communication skills. So that's how I was able to get him in handcuffs was just by verbalizing it and be like, hey, sometimes dispatch is wrong with the warrant. Maybe it's not you. And it definitely wasn't. It was confirmed. But at the end of the day, like we have to be able to train ourselves to look at situations and say, hey, could I have done it better? Even though it was quote unquote successful, could I have done it better? And that's sometimes a hard pill to swallow for some. Like self assessment is just so critical, especially in this profession.